Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new and my final video of this year on the 3D Critic channel. I'm David, your host, and today I'm going to be giving you guys the best shoes that I have played in this year. There were a lot of shoes, so that I have quite a few honorable mentions, and it was very hard to trim down this list when it came to the shoes that I play in. There were a lot of good shoes that I played. So starting off at number 10, I have the Puma MB.04s. To me, from top to bottom, it's a very solid shoe. Traction was pretty good on a clean court. It did pick up some dust, but it was very easy to wipe off, and it had decent durability. Cushioning, very good. Decent responsiveness on the forefoot with adequate balance on top of it, and it had very comfortable heel cushioning and an improvement overall when it came to the MB.03's cushioning, which felt very stiff. Materials, pretty straightforward. They're very comfortable on foot. We're a little stiff at first, but once you break it in, it is very comfortable and flexes with your foot very nicely. Aesthetically, they are a little too crazy for me when it comes to the overall pattern that you get on it, but nonetheless, it's a pretty comfortable shoe. Lockdown, pretty straightforward, and it gets the job done with a very solid one-to-one fit, basic midfoot lockdown system, and a high ankle collar to give you adequate heel lockdown on top of it. So all that was good. On top of the support where it got the job done, wasn't anything crazy as far as lateral counters. You do get ample lateral support at the end of the day, and you do get enough balance in the shoe with a shank plate, so it gives you really nice balance inside the shoe, and the outsole itself is nice and flat. So yeah, at the end of the day, it was a very solid shoe to play in, and at a reasonable price as well. Coming in at number 9, I have the New Balance Fresh Foam BB V2s. This shoe was very good right out of the gate, in my opinion. The one thing that stood out to me was the cushioning setup. It had a nice responsive feel under my foot, and it had a nice bounce too. But the main highlight was how soft and comfortable it was. To me, the most comfortable cushioning setup that I've played in. Traction is no slouch either. It is very grippy and had a very solid bite, regardless of the court condition that you were in, and it was very durable as well. Materials, it gave off a dad-like aesthetic when it comes to the looks, and the kind of material that you get is nice and bougie, especially for the price that you get. So yeah, pretty good shoe when it comes to the materials. They were very comfortable on foot, didn't have to break it in, and they felt silky smooth. As far as lockdown is concerned, it's pretty good too. The whole lacing system that you get on the midfoot is nice and solid with the cables that you get, and the lockdown in the heel is pretty good. You do get some heel slippage, but as you break in the material, it starts to improve. That way you won't experience that much heel slippage. So yeah, very good when it comes to lockdown. And as far as support goes, you do get really nice ample support considering how high the cushion stack is. So very good when it comes to lateral counters. Pretty basic with the sloped midsole that you have, and you get nice rigid materials where you need it, and the midsole itself does run up the material, so it does cradle your foot especially. And the overall balance that I got was pretty good. You do get a midfoot shank that's bottom loaded to give you a nice planted feel. So yeah, very good shoe from top to bottom. It did give off like a dad aesthetic vibe when it comes to the overall look and the build of the shoe, but yeah, very solid shoe from top to bottom. Moving on to number 8, I have the LeBron Next Gen Amped Edition. To me, this was an overall improvement when it comes to the Amped Edition compared to the Next Gen Edition, especially in the materials. I really like the materials that you got in this with the synthetic leathers that you get throughout the shoe. As a result, gave me a nice one-to-one fit. It felt like it was very snug, and it does break in a little bit to give you a little bit more of a roomy fit, but it still keeps it very snug at the end of the day. So yeah, very good when it comes to materials. The aesthetic appeal looks very nice, and the lockdown itself is one of the best that I've had, in my opinion. Even though it's a low top shoe, the sphere padding that you get in the back makes sure that the heel is cinched into place so you won't experience any heel slippage. Lacing system is pretty good in the midfoot, so you won't have any movement there, and because of the fit, you won't move around in the forefoot. Cushioning is very good, exactly the same as the regular Next Gen. You get a very responsive feel in the forefoot, pretty bouncy, and you do get very comfortable heel cushioning. Traction is the same thing. It offers a nice solid grip on your foot. On dusty coats, it does pick up a little bit of dust. However, its kryptonite is the durability side of things. The overall grooves are pretty thin, and as you start to wear them down, it's going to start peeling, and you won't have that much when it comes to durability if you want to play in them outdoors. But outside of that, the support system is very good. You get a very flat outsole, so you're going to have a very nice flat platform to land on, and it's fairly wide. And the lateral counters that you get are very good, and it is an improvement to the regular Next Gens because of the abundance of materials that you get that gives it more rigidity, and you won't give off when you're doing lateral cuts and stuff like that. Next up at number 7, I have the Wade Fission 9. To me, this shoe is very underrated with everything that you get on the shoe as far as the price that I got them for. The materials are very cheap, but they do get the job done when it comes to the fit of the shoe. The lockdown system that you get is very nice with the cables that you get in the far back. That way it's able to lock the ankle collar around, and as a result, you get zero heel slippage in the back. So the lockdown system was very good, combined with the materials, which were cheap, like I said earlier, but they did get the job done when it comes to comfort. The cushioning, the highlight of the show. When it came to the Fission 9, it was very bouncy in the forefoot with the boom cushioning that you get, and you get two shanks. That way it acts like a springboard under your foot, and it felt like I was on a pogo stick when I was playing in these. And the cushioning in the back is no slouch either with the Cloud Foam Plus that you get. Very comfortable and forgiving, and heel strikes were very good too. Traction, also a highlight. The grip is phenomenal, and it lasts you for days, regardless of the court condition that you're in. Whether you're playing indoors and outdoors, you're going to have traction wherever you can. So yeah, very good when it came to traction and cushion. Materials were bare bones and kind of cheap, but as a result, the lockdown was carried at that, and it was very good in the midfoot and heel at that. And the balance in the shoe when it comes to support, the sloped midsole that you got, the decoupled shank that you get, the plastic shank and the internal shank that you have provide you phenomenal balance, and the base is very wide too. Coming in at number 6, I have the Way of Wade All City 12 Encores. This shoe was very good and very reminiscent to the performance that I felt in the Way of Wade 11s, where you get full length boom, which is insanely responsive and very bouncy in the forefoot, and the heel cushioning was very nice and forgiving, just like in the Way of Wade 11s, and it provided kind of the same amount of pop that you get in the Way of Wade 11s, where it was very explosive and you're able to go up and down or constantly without being fatigued. So the cushioning was very good in this, and the outsole itself was very nice and grippy. Did have to go through a dusting phase because it picked up dust and it did slide around, but after you go through that phase, it is insanely grippy and durable on top of it, which is surprising because the rubber itself is very soft. Materials are a low light. While the materials are nice, however, they did dig in the forefoot, and it does dig around the ankle collar too, so that was kind of its downfall when it came to the materials. But lockdown, as far as I'm concerned, it was very good. I didn't experience any heel slippage, even though it was a low cut shoe. So very surprising at that. And the support is phenomenal because you have an extremely wide base, a very sloped midsole. That way you have really good lateral support and stability at that. And with the shank, you get very nice balance inside the shoe as well. Moving on to number 5, I have the New Balance 2-Way V5s. Everything about this shoe was very good in my opinion, and it was very solid from top to bottom. Traction was insanely grippy. It was the best traction setup that I've tried this year, so it was no slouch when it came to traction on dusty courts, clean courts, outside. It was very durable at that. Cushioning, it has the Fuel Cell and the Fresh Foam X, so you're going to have very nice responsiveness and very nice comfortability on top of it. So it's the best of both worlds when it comes to cushioning setups, and it was very bouncy too with the shank that you get in the midfoot. The materials were very bare bones, but they're very flexible and comfortable and felt very lightweight at the same time. Lockdown's also very good, but it is very minimalistic when it comes to padding in the back, so you won't experience that same amount of sculpting that you're going to get, but you do get some sculpting with the rubber foam clip that you get in the back, so you do get some ample heel lockdown at that. And the support was very good. You do get an outrigger. It is a very wide base, and it was very balanced at that as well. So very underrated when it comes to this shoe, and it is very cheap when it comes down to it. Moving on to number 4, I have a 2-way tie with the Anta Kai 1 and the Way of Wade 808 4 Ultra. To me, they felt exactly the same as far as cushioning goes, especially in the forefoot. I found them to be insanely responsive and bouncy in the forefoot because they both have carbon fiber shanks. It is a very responsive and very lively feel when it comes to the cushioning setup that you get. And the heel cushioning in the back is no slouch either. It is more forgiving in the Kai 1s compared to the 808 4s because of the clunkiness that you get in the back, but they felt pretty much identical besides that. Traction is no slouch. It is slightly better in the 808 4s. It does have to break in a little bit, but it is no slouch nonetheless. Same goes for the Kai 1. It was very grippy at that, but it does wear off over time compared to the 808 4s where it doesn't. I didn't experience any durability at that, but materials are on par in my opinion. They both have textiles all around the shoe, which gives it that feel where you do have to break it in, and once you break it in, it does give you some flexibility and conforms really nice to your foot. Lockdown is pretty good too. You get ample padding in the Kai 1s, especially with the tongue in the midfoot, so you're going to be really cinched in the midfoot, and it is very sculpted and padded in the heel. Same goes for the 808 4s. There isn't as much sculpting, and padding, but it sucks the heel right in, so you won't experience any heel slippage at that. And support is very supportive. Both shoes, when it comes to outsoles, they are very wide and flat, so you're going to have a nice stability. And because of the shanks you get, you're going to get insane balance inside the shoe as well. So it was kind of hard to debate either or which would be on the number 4 list, but the Kai 1 and the 808-4 are number 4 in my opinion. Moving on to number 3, I also have a two-way tie with the Adidas AE1s and the updated version of the LeBron 21. To me, when it comes to cushion, they feel exactly the same, but one has more of a break-in phase compared to the other one where it's just you have to get used to the shoe itself. In the AE1s, the cushioning setup is good, but you do have to get used to the weight because it is a little heavy under your foot. And once you get used to it, it is insanely responsive, insanely bouncy, and very comfortable in the heel. And the LeBron 21s, they have the same amount of responsiveness and bounce right away, but you do have to break in the heel cushioning because at first it is very stiff. So once you get through those phases, the AE1s and the updated LeBron 21s feel exactly the same as far as cushion. Traction is the same thing. The grip is insanely grippy regardless of the coin condition that you're in, whether it's clean or dusty, they perform exactly the same. In the AE1s, I did find them to be a little bit more durable compared to the 21s, but they are no slouch when it comes to the traction as far as durability. And cushioning, exactly the same. Materials, they go in one way and one to the other. The 21s are more traditional with the glued on material that you get with the glossy panels that you get with the Nike logo. And the AE1s are more futuristic when it comes to that, but both serve a very significant purpose when it comes to lockdown. The lockdown in both of them is pretty good. There were a little weird fitting issues in the 21 update, so you do have to figure that out when it comes down to it. But the lockdown on both shoes are very good, especially in the midfoot. They're really clamped in the midfoot, and because of the sculpting that you get in the back, especially in the AE1s, you get really nice sculpting, whereas in the 21s, you get nice sculpting and padding on top of it. So it was very good when it comes to lockdown, and support is very good. Very flat bases from the outsole, very nice shanks. You get a full-length shank in the AE1s, which provides you very a planted base at that, and you do get incredible balance at that. Whereas in the 21 is more traditional with just a midfoot shank, but it serves its purpose phenomenally at that. And you do get an abundance of outriggers, especially, and the lateral support that you get were pretty much the same at that, and they were very good at that. So it was kind of hard to debate which one would be higher and lower. Both serve the same purpose when it comes to traction and the cushioning as well. It just goes through different phases. But in the number 3 spot, it is the Adidas AE1 and the updated LeBron 21s. Moving on to number 2, I have the Way of Wade 11. The first thing that popped out to me when I played in these was the traction. The traction felt eerily similar to the traction that you get in the Curry line, where you get an insane bite to the point where it almost hurt. But in these, they felt exactly the same without that unforgiveness. So that was a huge plus. So laterally and vertically, you're able to be really shifty and very quick at that without any slipping regardless. And when it came to dusty courts, it didn't pick up any dust. So that was a huge plus compared to the Currys, where it does pick up dust like crazy and you do have to wipe every now and then. So that was a huge plus, and I didn't experience any durability issues when I played in them as well. So very solid when it came to traction. And the cushioning was insane to me. The full-length boom cushioning that you get along with the sandwich carbon fiber shank gave me an insanely responsive feel, very lively on your foot, and was very bouncy at that. It felt like I was on air when I was playing in these, and it was very jumpy. It felt like a pogo stick at the same time, so that was very good at that. And the cushioning in the heel was very forgiving, felt very compressible, and as a result of that, the overall shape of the shoe promotes very fluid heel to toe transitions at that. So I really liked how fluid this shoe was when I was going up and down the court, running around. It felt like a breeze when I was playing in these, so I really enjoyed the cushioning setup in this. Materials are very gnarly when it came to looks, but it does serve a purpose, and they look pretty bougie at the same time with the leather that you get. That is very comfortable. It does need some break-in time because it is a little stiff at first, but pretty good. The overall aesthetic of it looks like you're on like a boat, and it looks like a flotation device with the overall shape that you get. So it was a very weird shoe to play in, but as you got used to it, it felt very nice at the same time. Materials felt very good, very flexible. The tongue was really nice while being very minimalistic. As you move into the support, the lockdown system is really good because of the fit that you get in the forefoot and the lockdown system that you get integrated with the materials, so it was nice and harnessed around your foot. But the only downside that I had about the lockdown was in the heel. I did notice a little bit of heel slippage every now and then when I was playing in them, so that was a little bit of a downside to the lockdown. But when you move into support, it was very supportive considering how rounded the shoe is itself. So very supportive with the carbon fiber shank. You're going to get insane balance inside the shoe. The base itself, one of the widest I've seen, even though it looks really curved at that. So very balanced when it came to the outsole, very flat when it needs to be, and you get really nice balance inside the shoe with the shank that you get in the cushioning itself. Now, before I reveal the best shoe that I played in this year, I do have quite a few honorable mentions that I had to mention in this list. First being the Wade Flash. This was a very underrated shoe in my opinion. You can get at a very cheap price and you get basically everything that you need in a shoe and then some. The traction was very good regardless of the court condition that you were in. Cushioning, while being very minimalistic, felt very responsive and it had very nice bounce at that. Heel cushioning was pretty good, but after a while it will start to bottom out, so that was kind of the main downside. Materials were very light and very airy, like you were able to feel the air go into the shoe. However, they were on the lower side of things when it comes to quality, and after a while they will start to tear, rip and tear in a few other spots. So that was like my only downside to the materials. Lockdown was pretty good. I didn't experience any sliding in the forefoot as well as in the midfoot. It's pretty basic when it comes to the midfoot lockdown. In the heel, I did experience some heel slippage, but there is a little pad that prevents the heel from slipping out any further, so it was pretty good as far as lockdown, but it isn't the greatest that I've had. And support is surprisingly underrated because of the lateral counters that you get with an outrigger with the rubber wrapping up into the material a little bit to give it some nice rigidity, and because of the shank that you get in the midfoot, it provided really nice balance on top of it. So very underrated shoe and very cheap at that as well. Next up, I have the Nike Sabrina 2s. This was a significant improvement to the Sabrina 1s in my opinion, especially with the traction. It was way more consistent and it had really nice grip. It did pick up some dust and it did suffer from durability issues from time to time. The cushioning, while very good in the beginning, very responsive and had really nice bounce, after a while, because it is cushioned, it will start to bottom out, especially in the heel, and it will feel as comfortable as it was when it's new. Materials, they are good, but after a while they will start to peel in some areas. It's like separating from the outsole itself, so that was a little bit of a disappointment when it comes to materials, but you can't expect a lot because it is on the cheap end of the market. Lockdown, pretty good, didn't experience any issues. The forefoot is nice and conformed to your foot. Lacing system is pretty good with the flywire cabling that you get, giving it a nice cinched feel. And lockdown, I experienced a little bit of heel slippage here and there, but I didn't really notice it that much. Support, very good. The counters that you get are very good, and you do get a midfoot shank to give you nice balance inside the shoe. Next up, I have the Dame 9s. They were very good when it came to traction. It was very consistent regardless of the court condition that I was in, and I didn't experience any durability issues. Cushioning was very good, reasonably responsive in the forefoot, and it had some decent balance on top of it. But in the back, they were insanely comfortable. It was very forgiving. It felt very mushy at the same time. However, in the long run, I don't think it's going to stay that way because light strike tends to bottom out over time. So it won't feel as comfortable, and that was mainly like my only downside to the shoe when it comes to the overall life of the cushioning itself. Materials were very good on foot, very comfortable and very flexible. It did suffer from some fit issues, so when it came to lockdown, they were a little bit iffy here and there, and I did experience an ample amount of heel slippage because of that. But support-wise, you do get counters, and you do get an abundance of lateral support from the midsole itself, and some plastic counters that prevents the ankle from rolling on you, so that was a huge plus in that. And the overall balance of the shoe was greatly supportive, very balanced inside the shoe with the shank that you get, and the base itself is nice and flat, so I really liked how balanced the Dame 9s were when I played in it. Next up, I have the AR1s by Rigorer Austin Reeves shoe. This was a lightning fast shoe as far as the traction setup and the cushioning on top of it. To me, the cushion was insanely responsive and bouncy in the forefoot. The only downside was that the cushioning in the heel was just average when it came to the overall like forgiveness of the feel in the heel, and they were a little clunky, so that affected the overall like heel to toe transition at that. But in the forefoot, it is one of the best that I've had. Materials, they were a little lackluster in my opinion. It was just textiles. It didn't get anything crazy to me when it came to materials. They were on the cheap end, but lockdown was very good. The forefoot was a little bit uncomfortable because I did order the wrong size, like a half size down from what I usually get. But everything else, I didn't experience any issues. The lockdown was very good in the midfoot, and in the heel, I didn't experience that much heel slippage. So yeah, traction too was very grippy. It did pick up some dust, but the durability is on the weird side of things because it started to peel, which was very weird when I was playing in them and when I experienced that. So yeah, Aero 1s are a very underrated shoe as far as the cushioning setup, especially in the forefoot in my opinion. All right guys, to me, when I played in them, it was a significant enhancement when it came to a shoe that I played in the year before. And the shoe that I'm talking about is the Way of Wade 808-3 Ultra. Last year, they were a very good shoe. The traction was very grippy, and regardless of the court condition I was in, I didn't experience any sliding. It did pick up dust here and there, but one quick wipe and I was good to go. And they were insanely durable. Didn't experience any issues with that. Cushioning was insanely responsive, insanely bouncy with the drop-in boom midsole that you got. But the materials, they were on the textile, plastic side of things, which was a little bit cheap in my opinion, but they did get the job done as far as I was concerned. But the materials itself, when it came to the forefoot, the lockdown system that you had was very good and very cinched in. However, I did experience from time to time there was a good bit of heel slippage, so that was a little bit of an issue when I had it. And the balance that I got was very good, so I was very happy to see them make the Way of Wade 808-3 Ultra V2 edition, because this is basically just an enhanced version of the regular 808-3 Ultra. It keeps the traction, which if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's very insanely grippy going laterally and vertically. I didn't have any issues with it. The drop-in midsole, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like I said earlier, insanely responsive and bouncy in the forefoot, and very comfortable in the heel when it needs to be. And it isn't mushy. It's soft enough that way it won't feel too mushy. That way it won't sink into the shoe and won't affect your overall response time. So they were a lightning quick shoe at that. But the main enhancement to me was the materials and basically the overall upgrade of the material itself, with the leather paneling that you get in the toe box, which enhances the support, as I'll get into in just a sec, and the material that you get with the flexibility that you have around the shoe, and the ankle wrap that you get around the shoe just enhances the lockdown. At the end of the day, with the lockdown in the midfoot, you get the fly wire cable that you get in the bottom of the lace line, and as you get further, the rest of the shoe basically acts like a sock, so basically one with your foot. And as you go up into the ankle collar, basically wraps the ankle to the point where you don't experience no heel slippage at that. And the overall look of the shoe is a slight enhancement, but they pretty much carry the same aesthetic look from the regular 808-3. But yeah, to me, this was by far the best shoe that I played in. Basically goes toe to toe with the Way of Wades when it comes to traction, the cushioning, materials, lockdown. I give the V2s an edge when it came to the Way of Wade 11s, especially in the heel. And they are cheaper at that. They are going for maybe $70 or $80 cheaper compared to the Way of Wade 11s. So you're basically getting the same performance in the Way of Wade 11s, in the Ultra V2s, for a cheaper price, which is why I give these an advantage to the Way of Wade 11s. The Way of Wade 11 is no slouch, but to me, you get the same amount of performance in the Ultra V2s, just at a cheaper price. Thank you guys for watching this video. This has been my best shoes that I have played in this year, and the Way of Wade 808-3 Ultra V2 is the best shoe that I have played in this year. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and comment down below on what you think of this list. Is there anything wrong with the list? Is this the best shoe in anybody's mind? I'd like to know your thoughts on that, as well as any other questions that you might have. If you like to stay up to date with future videos that I'll be posting, hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to see my performance reviews on all of the shoes that I have mentioned, I will leave my performance review playlist on this side of the screen. And if you want to follow me on social media, all of that information will be in the description box below. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you guys kick off a brand new year. And thank you guys for watching the videos as always. I really appreciate the support that I'm getting, and I hope to continue to help this channel grow so it can be more entertaining for you guys, and most importantly, more informational, so that you guys can get the best advice when it comes to which shoes to get and which shoes not to get. So thank you guys again. Thank you so much for your support. And until next year, keep shooting.